Yvette Wilson was a great person. She just was a really nice lady, like
In the 1990s, Moesha was an icon. Brandy shined bright. Countess Vaughn brought laughter. And Yvette Wilson, with her hearty smile and warm role as Andelle, was the big sister everyone could rely on. On screen, they were the perfect family. But on June 14, 2012, when Yvette took her last breath at just 48 years old, that family dissolved. No one stepped forward to arrange her funeral. There was no lavish farewell like Hollywood usually puts on. Only whispers remained cold and sharp as a knife. Why did no one pay for her final rites? Was camaraderie just something written into the script, not lived off screen? Or was there a darker truth deliberately hidden behind the spotlight? One curse, 3 deaths, and a haunting legacy. Fans called it the Moesha curse. Yvette's death wasn't just the end of an actress. It exposed the dark side of professional bonds, the coldness of Hollywood, and secrets never before told. Born on March 6, 1964 in Los Angeles, Yvette Renee Wilson didn't grow up in luxury like many Hollywood stars. She came from a modest background, familiar with hardship from an early age. But that very lack gave Yvette a strong, witty personality, always knowing how to make people laugh. Friends recalled how with just one line, Yvette could turn a gloomy room into one filled with laughter. That laughter later became her passport into the unforgiving world of showbiz. Unlike many actors with formal training, Yvette chose the path of stand-up comedy, a stage where few black women dared to tread. Night after night, she performed in small Los Angeles clubs, winning audiences, with her blunt honesty, down-to-earth humor, and a charm no one could imitate. It was here that she learned to survive no illusions, no sugarcoating, only raw truth and laughter. Her big break came in 1996 when Yvette was cast in the hit sitcom Moesha. Her role as Andelle Wilkerson, the cafe owner of The Den, instantly became the show's second heartbeat. Audiences loved Andelle not just for her witty one-liners, but for her warmth, compassion, and the way she always looked out for Moesha and her friends. If Brandy was the heart of the show, Yvette Wilson was the shoulder, a steady emotional anchor. Fans even said, without Andelle, Moesha loses half its soul. Alongside TV, Yvette left her mark in Film House Party 3, 1994, and especially Friday 1995, Ice Cube's classic street comedy. Though not a lead, she stood out with her grounded charm and natural screen presence. In 1999, success continued when The Parkers, a spin-off of Moesha, premiered. This time, Yvette had more room to shine, teaming up with Countess Vaughn and Monique to create a legendary trio. Andelle in The Parkers wasn't just a cafe owner anymore. She was the glue that held the cast together, the humorous soul of the show. Across 5 seasons, 1999, 2004. Yvette Wilson solidified her place in the world of black sitcoms, unflashy, unpretentious, but steady and unforgettable. Yet the spotlight on screen didn't translate to wealth off screen. Sitcom paychecks, especially for supporting roles, weren't enough to make Yvette a millionaire. After The Parkers, she landed a few major projects and gradually faded from the media. While her colleagues stayed in the limelight, Yvette Wilson's name slowly slipped from Hollywood's memory. It was a bitter irony, a woman who brought laughter to millions struggling just to make ends meet. And then fate struck cruelly. The bright career path turned into the opening act of a long tragedy, a tragedy the world only truly recognized when illness arrived, sweeping Yvette away from the stage forever. The death sentence, and Yvette Wilson's desperate fight. When the studio lights faded, Yvette Wilson faced a script crueler than any sitcom: a terminal illness. In the early 2000s, she began feeling something was wrong. At first it was strange pains, then fainting spells that worried her friends. Test results came back like a death sentence: late-stage cervical cancer. At the same time, she battled chronic kidney disease, forcing her onto dialysis. While her colleagues walked red carpets, Yvette spent her time in hospitals, hooked up to IV drips and dialysis machines. Doctors warned that without continuous treatment and a kidney transplant, her chances of survival were slim. But the price of life came with staggering medical bills. Hollywood is often seen as a paradise of money, but for a supporting actress like Yvette, the reality was brutal. She had no great fortune, no large savings, and most of all, no adequate health insurance. Just a few months into treatment, the bills had already surpassed what she could afford. In desperation, Yvette had to lean on friends. A close friend, Jeffrey Pittle, set up a fundraising page on Give Forward, aiming to raise $25,000 so she could continue treatment. The announcement spread quickly online, save Yvette Wilson, Andell from Moesha. Hundreds of fans and friends pitched in, but the campaign only reached about $13,000, barely half the goal. That number cut like a knife. Fans cared, but their love wasn't enough to save her from the mountain of medical debt. In that darkness, another star stepped in. Comedian Cat Williams, who had worked with Monique secretly, came to Yvette's aid. According to Monique, Cat not only donated another $12,000, but also brought Yvette into his own home, caring for her in her final days. Monique admitted tearfully, "He did what so few in this business would ever do. He took care of a sister when everyone else turned away." While fans and a few generous souls reached out, what shocked the public was the silence from many colleagues who once called Yvette family. On screen, they laughed and cried together. Off screen, when she was fighting for every breath, their help was almost invisible. Rumors spread quickly. Did the Moesha cast abandon Yvette Wilson Hospital's bills, lonely nights? Yvette became the tragic opposite of the strong, cheerful Andell she once played. The harder she fought, the more exhausted she became. People remembered her hearty laugh on TV, but behind hospital doors, she was a frail woman, her face marked by chemotherapy, her eyes filled with despair. When the fundraiser fell short, when her few remaining friends scraped together what they could, when Cat Williams did everything in his power to hold off death, it still came knocking. And within that tragedy, a bitter truth was laid bare. Yvette Wilson, the woman who made the world laugh, had to beg for every dollar just to buy more time. The silent death and Yvette Wilson's tearless memorial. On June 14, 2012, Los Angeles basked in summer sunlight, but in a small room, darkness consumed a star. At 48, Yvette Wilson, who once brought laughter to an entire generation, collapsed. Cancer and kidney failure gave her no more time. The moment Yvette took her final breath, the public exploded. Hollywood media all ran the headline, "Moesha's Andell dies at 48." But the next news shocked people even more. There would be no funeral. Her family declared that Yvette had left instructions. She didn't want a heavy, tearful goodbye. She only wanted a memorial, a celebration of life. Even more suspicious rumors of a suicide note began spreading across forums. Some fans claimed the family had found a piece of paper from Yvette writing about loneliness and the pain of being abandoned. The family never revealed the contents, fueling speculation. One Hollywood blogger splashed the headline, "If the suicide note is revealed, the Moesha cast will bow their heads in shame." On social media at the time, fans erupted in anger. They compared the silence of the Moesha cast with the image of Yvette's Andell, who always sheltered them on screen. One viewer commented, "Andell always had open arms on Moesha." But when Yvette needed that same protection in real life, no one showed up. Those words were shared tens of thousands of times, turning her death into the center of controversy. 2 weeks later, on June 30, 2012, Yvette's memorial was held at Regency West, a famous club in Leimert Park, South Los Angeles, the very place where Yvette had once begun her stand-up career. About 300 people attended. The atmosphere was nothing like a funeral. Music played. Laughter mixed with tears. Her family said she didn't want tears. She wanted everyone to smile when they remembered her. Among those present were Brandy and her brother Ray J, Countess Vaughn, Dorian Wilson, Ken Lawson, and many colleagues from comedy and television. They shared memories, laughing and crying in the same moment. Brandy gave a short but heartfelt tribute, "Yvette was our light, our heart." Yet the absence of several major names fueled more gossip. Some Moesha actors didn't appear publicly, nor did they leave long statements in the media. The press and fans quickly saw it as evidence that the Moesha family had fallen apart long ago. On Twitter, one viewer wrote, "If they were truly family, they'd be here today." Do Hollywood friendships ever truly exist? Or are they just scripted performances for audiences to believe? Yvette Wilson left quietly, her memorial closing with forced smiles and scattered tears. But instead of easing the pain, that farewell awakened a chilling memory. This wasn't the first time Moesha had lost a star. Before Yvette, there had been other deaths, tragic and sudden. Fans began piecing them together, and from that came a chilling phrase, "the Moesha curse." The Moesha curse, 3 deaths and the shadow, over a legendary sitcom. Merlin Santana, a bloody death in his youth. On November 9, 2002, Hollywood was stunned by breaking news. Merlin Santana, who appeared in Moesha as Ohagi Kim Parker's ex-boyfriend, played by Countess Vaughn, had been shot to death at only 26 years old. That night, Merlin and a friend left the home of a teenage girl. Sitting in his car before he could even start the engine, an assailant opened fire. The shooter, a young man provoked by false accusations from the girl, was later sentenced to life in prison. Merlin's death not only outraged the public, but also cast a haunting shadow. A young talent at his peak cut down on the street because of recklessness and senseless violence. Lamont Bentley, a fatal crash on the highway. Just 3 years later, on January 19, 2005, another tragedy struck Moesha fans. Lamont Bentley, who played Hakeem Moesha's boyfriend, died in a car accident at only 31. The crash happened on Highway 118 in California. Bentley was speeding, lost control, hit a fence, and was thrown from his vehicle. He died instantly. The news spread quickly, shocking audiences. Hakeem, the gentle, loyal boy who had been with Moesha for so many seasons, was now just a memory. Lamont's death, sudden and heartbreaking, was seen as the second blow to fans' hearts. And whispers began to spread. Is this just coincidence? Or is there really a Moesha curse? Yvette Wilson, the final piece of the shadow. When Yvette Wilson died on June 14, 2012, the chain of tragedies became complete. Her death wasn't sudden like Merlin's or Lamont's, it came from illness and exhaustion. But it was the silence, no funeral, no full presence of colleagues that made it the most devastating shock of all. 3 deaths, 3 pains, all within just a single decade. Fans no longer believed it was a coincidence. On tabloids and forums, the phrase Moesha curse became an obsession. Public uproar, from grief to horror. Fans insisted the sitcom was haunted because too many young stars had died around it. Hollywood tabloids splashed headlines like "The Moesha curse strikes again," and "Who will be the next victim?" Many saw it as proof of Hollywood's cruelty, how young talented black actors could be so easily forgotten, so easily lost with no one to stand behind them. And when Yvette's memorial turned out to be a tearless party, many fans felt betrayed. Andell should have had a grand funeral. Instead, even her death was covered by secrets and chilling silence. Moesha had once been a shining symbol of black teen culture in the 1990s. But now for many, it was tied to 3 young deaths, 3 tragedies without answers. The Moesha curse terrified fans with its chain of tragic deaths. But there was another curse equally haunting the conflicts, the grudges, and the coldness within the very cast who once called each other family on screen. Drama and rift. Within the cast. When the Moesha family fell apart in real life. The first seat of tension was between Brandy and Countess Vaughn. On screen, Moesha Mitchell Brandy and Kim Parker Countess Vaughn were inseparable best friends, always side by side, sharing teenage mischief. Audiences loved them, not only for their humor, but also for what seemed like unbreakable sincerity and friendship. But off-screen, the story was completely different. Rumors began to circulate that Brandy didn't like Vaughn and even showed disdain. In a later interview, Vaughn recalled that Brandy once mocked her appearance, leaving a deep emotional scar. Vaughn said bluntly, "Brandy was never my friend. She never liked me." The veiled comments, combined with Brandy's cold attitude at public events, made fans realize that the friendship on screen was nothing more than scripted lines. And when Vaughn decided to leave Moesha, it became clear that the rift was beyond repair. In 1999, Countess Vaughn and Monique broke out with the Parkers, a spin-off that ran for 5 seasons and became a major hit. But the striking detail was that Brandy never appeared in a single episode, even though Kim Parker's character had been Moesha's closest friend. Speculation flared. Did Brandy refuse to collaborate, or could the two not even share the same screen anymore? To fans, the absence could not be mere coincidence. It felt like confirmation that the on-screen friendship was officially over. Monique and her hints about scandalous behind-the-scenes truths. Monique, the star of The Parkers, later made repeated comments hinting at unpleasant realities behind black sitcoms in the 1990s. In talk shows and interviews, she did not hesitate to say Hollywood is not a place of sisterhood. It's a place where everyone wants to shine the brightest. Though she never directly named Moesha, fans understood she was pointing at a toxic environment where competition for the spotlight easily turned friends into rivals. Monique's words only reinforced the belief that those bright smiles on screen were nothing but masks, hiding real-life tension. The conflict didn't stop there as Brandy distanced herself from the sitcom family. After Moesha ended in 2001, Brandy nearly cut off all contact with the cast. She focused completely on her music career, releasing albums, touring, and moving into film. At public events, she was rarely seen with her former co-stars. That distance led many fans to believe Brandy had left Moesha behind, and that the so-called family was nothing more than dialogue in a script. When the scandal over Yvette's death erupted, Brandy's silence came under even harsher scrutiny. When Yvette Wilson passed in June 2012, the public expected the memorial to be a reunion and occasion for the cast to come together and honor their big sister Andell. But in reality, the memorial at Regency West with about 300 attendees exposed division instead. Yes, some colleagues were there: Brandy Ray J. Countess, Vaughn Dorian Wilson, Ken Lawson. They shared memories, laughed, and cried together. But the public's attention turned to the faces missing, those who had worked alongside Yvette for years, yet chose silence. Even Brandy, though present, only left a few brief words on Twitter instead of delivering a heartfelt speech at the memorial. Some cast members did not publicly mention Yvette at all. The rumor of a cold cast spread quickly. And while the truth was that many colleagues did attend, in the eyes of fans, the silence from others outweighed the presence of 300 people. That void turned the memorial from a celebration of life into undeniable evidence of a rift that could no longer be hidden. Fans came to a bitter realization: Moesha was no longer a symbol of teenage friendship. It had become proof of a harsh Hollywood reality. The family only existed on screen, but when the lights went out, everyone went their separate ways. Unmasking the dark truth. After Yvette Wilson's passing, the public was stunned by the headlines. No funeral, and the Moesha cast didn't spend a dime on her final rites. But when you look at the facts, the picture is completely different. It was Yvette's own family who confirmed that she had left clear instructions: she didn't want a traditional funeral. Her mother told the press Yvette wanted people to laugh, not cry. "My daughter didn't want to be sent off in tears." That is why the memorial at Regency West in Los Angeles on June 30, 2012, was held as a party. There was live music, stand-up comedy, and friends sharing joyful memories instead of reading long eulogies. About 300 people gathered to celebrate Yvette's life, just as she had wished. So why was this simple truth twisted into a rumor that the cast was cold and uncaring? The answer lies in three factors. First, the drama was already there. The Brandy and Countess Vaughn feud, the competition for the spotlight, and Brandy's distance from the cast had created the image of a fractured family. When Yvette died, the silence or absence of a few big names was easily spun in the worst light. Second, public psychology. Fans were far more inclined to believe a story of strength but abandonment than a cheerful memorial. A woman who had begged for help with medical bills, then died without a funeral, was a narrative so tragic it was almost too good to pass up. Rumor became the perfect script to satisfy outrage and sympathy. Third, the tabloid press. Gossip magazines chose to ignore the 300-person memorial and Yvette's dying wish. Instead, they highlighted the absence of a few famous faces, turning it into so-called proof of indifference. Headlines like "Moesha stars didn't pay for the funeral" spread quickly, drowning out the truth. Another factor that kept the rumor alive was Brandy's silence. She attended the memorial but only gave a brief statement, later posting just a few lines on Twitter. While Countess Vaughn and Dorian Wilson shared longer tributes, the press zeroed in on Brandy's restraint. That gap became fertile ground for speculation. If she really cared, why didn't she say more? All of these elements turned a simple fact, a memorial instead of a funeral, into a distorted dark truth that Yvette had been abandoned by those who once called her family. Looking back, Yvette Wilson's tragedy was the bitter intersection of real life and the screen. On TV, she was Andell, the big sister who always looked out for everyone. In real life, she was a supporting actress battling illness and financial struggle. And even in death, her story was turned into collective drama. But the real dark truth was not that the cast was stingy or heartless. The truth is, this Hollywood is colder than it ever appears on screen. A sitcom family only exists as long as the script runs. When the lights go out, everyone goes their own way. And when tragedy strikes, that distance becomes the empty space the public eagerly fills with rumor. What matters most is this: Yvette Wilson never wanted to be remembered with tears or scandal. She wanted to be remembered with laughter. The Celebration of Life memorial was the final script Yvette wrote for herself, a different ending, but one that reflected exactly who she was. The lesson from this story is clear: respect the wishes of the departed, and do not let drama or gossip media bury the truth. Yvette Wilson deserves to be remembered not for the controversies around her death, but for the legacy she left behind. Andell, warm, witty, and the source of laughter for both Moesha and the Parkers. That smile, that warmth still lives on in the hearts of audiences despite every rumor and every so-called curse. And perhaps that is the final truth in the false world of Hollywood. Yvette Wilson left behind something real: love and laughter for her fans. The Moesha cast. Today, after the spotlight, who still shines and who faded into darkness? The #1 star of the sitcom, Brandy Norwood, as Moesha Mitchell, remains the vocal Bible of R&B. After turbulent years in the 2000s, including a traumatic 2006 car accident, Brandy came back strong with her album B7 2020, and more recently as a judge on America's Got Talent. She has hinted at wanting a Moesha reunion, though she admitted that she does not keep in regular contact with the cast. That one remark left fans both hopeful and doubtful. Her on-screen best friend and off-screen rival Countess Vaughn as Kim Parker is still active in entertainment. After the Parkers ended, Vaughn appeared in reality shows like Celebrity Fit Club and Hollywood Divas. Most recently, she showed up in the series Harlem 2023. An interesting detail is that Vaughn once revealed on a talk show that she almost quit the industry because of body-shaming, hinting that Brandy was one of the people who hurt her most deeply. That drama still lingers whenever fans compare the two. From Moesha's TV mom to an Emmy queen, Cheryl Lee Ralph has risen to the top. Her role as Barbara Howard in Abbott Elementary earned her a 2022 Emmy. Her powerful acceptance speech had all of Hollywood on its feet. She is also an Order of Jamaica honoree and remains tirelessly active in social work. A touching moment came when she mentioned her early days on Moesha during her acceptance, calling it the home where it all started. The mischievous little brother of the show, Marcus T. Paulk, as Miles Mitchell, is now 38. Paulk faced legal troubles with assault and reckless driving, but managed to rebuild his career. He acted in films like Roll Bounce Red Tails, Blackish, and eventually founded the modeling agency VVS Models. From child star to CEO, it was a transformation no one saw coming. Shar Jackson, who played Niecy Jackson, Moesha's loyal friend, once found herself at the center of one of Hollywood's biggest scandals. She was part of the love triangle with Kevin Federline, Britney Spears' ex-husband. Shar had 2 children with Kevin, and when Britney and Kevin's relationship became a tabloid storm, Shar was pulled into the chaos. Today, she focuses on family, a mother of 4, and now a grandmother. In 2023, she surprised fans with an appearance in Good Burger 2, bringing nostalgia for 90s kids. William Allen Young, who played Moesha's strict but loving father, is still working steadily in film and television. He has appeared in shows like Good Luck Charlie the Game and Code Black. Beyond acting, he founded the Young Center for Academic and Cultural Enrichment, a nonprofit supporting minority youth with education and the arts. Fans call him America's dad both on and off screen. Moesha's bad boy, Fredro Starr, has kept his tough guy image. He continues to rap with the group Onyx, released solo albums, and surprisingly became a children's book author with Lil Freddie the Red Sock. The contrast between his on-screen troublemaker persona and his role as a kid's writer delighted fans. Brandy's real-life brother, who joined the cast in the final season, is now one of the most controversial figures. Ray J rose to fame in pop R&B, but his personal drama, especially the infamous 2007 tape with Kim Kardashian, made him a tabloid mainstay. Today, he is both a reality TV star, Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, and a successful entrepreneur with his electronics brand, Raycon. From scandal to millionaire, Ray J is the definition of a Hollywood paradox. Could there be a Moesha reunion? In 2020, the cast made a surprise appearance on the talk show The Real. They hugged, laughed, and shared memories, sparking fan excitement. Is it finally time for Moesha to return? By 2024, Brandy fueled the fire once more, telling Page 6, "I would love to do a reunion with my Moesha castmates." Yet behind her words lies a quiet truth. For more than 20 years, the cast has rarely been seen together, and the old rifts were never fully healed. So the question still hangs in the air. Could that sitcom family ever sit together again, or will they remain only a beautiful but haunting memory for fans? The funeral may have been quiet, but the love from fans never faded. The drama may cloud the truth, but it cannot erase the warm smile she left behind. There was no funeral, but there is an immortal legacy. Yvette Wilson will forever be Andel in the hearts of everyone.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on the screen.